Welcome back to the channel. We are live in a living color, and we are covering today in your house NXT Takeover 2021. Got my main man Dan from DWE here. How's it going, Dan?
God, just had wrestling training. It's coming there. 10 years time. WWE, AEW, you're all going on a 10-year notice. I'm kicking all your ass.
Yeah, there you go. You're gonna be in 10 years. You'll be in one of these predictions for one of these pay-per-views. You love to see. That's awesome that you're starting your wrestling training. That is super cool. We have Mex from WrestleMania UK waiting for him to jump in the stream as well. But yeah, we're covering obviously NXT Takeover in Your House 2021, the second edition of NXT Takeover in Your House, which is I'm a super huge fan of. Obviously, I grew up on the original In Your Houses, and it's awesome to see that come back and coming back like hopefully once a year, maybe more. And let's add Mex into the stream. Mex, what's going on?
What's up, man? You guys all right?
Yeah, doing all good, doing good.
Good. Well, nice to see you, Dan.
Yeah, so we're just coming in right here talking about the show really quickly and how I'm just a huge mark for In Your House. And Doc Hendricks showing up yesterday on NXT TV was awesome. Todd Pettengill obviously going to be there as well. And I'm just a huge mark for that type of stuff and that 90s era, that mid 90s WWF. I kind of just, it's so corny, but I love it so much. But Mex, let me get your thoughts. How do you feel about the current NXT product leading up to this event?
It hasn't been what we have come to expect of a takeover build, I would say. It's been a bit flat in some respects, but takeovers tend to always deliver on the night. So yeah, I feel like they've rushed a lot of aspects of things. I feel like the card itself is quite predictable.
Okay.
But yeah, there is one match that I'm super looking forward to and interested to see what's going to happen in the main event.
Yeah, it's an interesting card. It's a short card, right? There's not a ton of matches on this card, but normally NXT takeovers are like that. It's more match focused rather than story focused, and you know that's the difference between the main roster and NXT itself. But I have enjoyed a lot of even if some of it's been kind of comedy or hokey. I have enjoyed a lot of the build to it. Especially now, it sucks that we're not getting kind of like a payoff or anything. Maybe we'll get something with what happened with Poppy, Dexter Loomis, and Indy Hartwell, which was for me the highlight of the night. The way her trifling ass showed up and tried to take her man from her, and kind of ruin that. But Dan, what do you think? How do you feel about NXT, the product leading up to this takeover?
With NXT, right? They're the best product out there. No one comes close, or they slip. Like you can't find the medium with NXT. But I don't think they have been that bad. Like this Cameron Grimes stuff has been brilliant with Ted DiBiase coming in. It's been gold. The main event scene, like the bit they did Adam Cole's promo last week as well on Karrion Kross. It is coming together. It's been a bit slow, but now you can see it really coming together.
I get what you're saying though. Like I understand that. Like okay, it's either really good or it's kind of just not there. It's a tough middle ground to play with. I have thought that majority of NXTs that have happened recently, TVs, have been pretty solid. I've enjoyed most of them. I like the more grounded, serious tone that their shows are, and majority of them take, especially the women's division. Like I said, some of the stuff has been kind of campy, set comedy, like the Cameron Grimes LA Knight stuff. Like you saw this last night. They had the two like showing each other's houses, even though LA Knight has come out and said like 2 weeks prior that he's not a millionaire, right? But he sure as hell looks like he lives like one, right? The way he's living. But yeah, I'm enjoying that. I love the fact that they're bringing back the $1 Million Championship. Interesting how they will book that belt though, right? Because you can't book it like you book that one, or regular title. And that'll be interesting how they treat it after whoever wins it. But let me get your thoughts, Max. How do you feel about this $1 Million belt and how they're gonna take it forward?
I mean, I'm very surprised within myself that this is what I'm looking forward to, because I really hate when they add these kind of titles. I think in the past, me and you, Anthony, we've spoken about the FTW Championship over at AEW, and I really hate when they have these kind of prop belts, if you like. But this one seems to be very interesting, depending how they're going to take it. I think the obvious thing is that Cameron Grimes wins it, but you never know. But yeah, it's interesting to see how it's going to be treated. This is what I'm looking forward to the most. Spoiler alert. this match.
Yeah, and I was super excited when I saw that belt. Like it seemed obvious, right, that they were gonna go this route with it when the storyline first started and Ted DiBiase started getting involved with Cameron Grimes. Like that's where they were gonna go, and we were right? Like it ends up ending at this spot. It's a ladder match for this title. I think it's gonna be cool, like I said, but the real work begins after who wins it and how they're gonna treat it, so it doesn't end up being the FTW title. He can't defend it like all the time, and it can't be a belt people are actually vying for that much. It's just whoever's in the feud with him, it can eventually lead to a title match, putting that title on the line. But I don't think every single feud of whoever holds it needs to have a championship match involved when it comes to that title. But at least he'll use it in some sort of fashion or another, unlike Brian Cage in that FTW title. But Dan, let me get your thoughts on are you excited about this title, and what do you see them doing with it and treating it going forward?
Well, for me, it's interesting because obviously it's an iconic old title. Like everyone loved that championship back in the day, and obviously being just modern fan, I never really got to see it before. So I think it's good for it to come back, and like it looks unique. Everyone loves it. It's old school. And Grimes is magic, and like whatever he does, he's been so good lately. So, but I don't see him winning it. I think he's better off. Like I don't know, because Eli Drake's fairly new as well, and like he kind of in a bit of a lose-lose situation for both guys going forward. Then
that is a good point. Yeah, it's a tough match to call because both guys are kind of like, in a spot where it's like who loses. So let's start off the predictions with that match right there, and it is for that $1 million championship. The ladder match, you have LA Knight taking on Cameron Grimes to see who holds that title and lives on the legacy that is the $1 million legacy with Ted DiBiase. Now, interesting, will Ted DiBiase be their manager? How will that work? Does he just leave immediately after this match is done? Is he gone from existence? You never see him again? That should be interesting how that works. But personally, I could see either guy holding onto this title and doing well with it. Cameron Grimes may be a little bit more entertaining with it because of his character, but I think LA Knight, with the cockiness, the look, the physique, everything like that, the bravado that he has, the heel bravado, I think it may work well with him, and I think it will work well with the Beverly Hillbilly that is Cameron Grimes. I think either way you can go with it. But Dan, I'll start with you. Who do you think is going to win this match, and which guy makes the most sense to win this match?
For me, LA Knight, he's going to win, I think, and I think he does make the most sense. Where Grimes, you kind of have the entertainer, the sports entertainment, proper wild side of it. But like, I think he's better being a bit delusional, chasing it, thinking he's gonna win all the time, and you kind of know he's not. I think he's better off like that. And like, LA Knight, he looks good as well. He he looks a lot believable as a proper champion, and he looks like good in the ring. So I'm going with LA Knight.
LA Knight. What about you, Max? What do you think about this match? Who's gonna win, and who makes more sense to win?
Well, in terms of sense, I think it's Cameron Grimes because he's the one that came with the whole $1 million, dollar gimmick and stuff. There is a sense of if he wins it at the first opportunity, then where does he go from here?
Yes,
there's nothing to chase. Like Dan said, I think LA Knight, he could be someone that wins it. I'm not very interested in LA Knight when it comes to in ring. But his character is amusing me every time I see him on NXT. So I wouldn't be, mad if he had it, and then, like we were saying, Grimes chases it for a while to eventually win it off him. And they've had that little kind of a switch. Grimes' character is no longer a heel; it is more like a baby face. So it's very hard. I'm gonna go with Grimes. I think they'll probably put it on him.
I think so as well. I mean, like I said, I could see either guy holding it. They each have their strengths that kind of play into it. Obviously, Grimes, the Beverly Hillbilly type. I fell into it kind of with the game stonks, like all that stuff like that. That's Wall Street crypto stuff like that, and all that going on makes sense. He kind of falls into it, and he's kind of goofy, funny, and entertaining. LA Knight has the more of the package. But again, what do you do with this title going forward? Like, how do you book it? That's the interesting part that I really want to find out and how it goes. The match, though, I think is going to be a good, solid, fun match. And this might be a good spot for LA Knight because he's shown up here, hasn't done a ton, right? He lost that match against Bronson Reed, and then just nothing really happened after that. And now he's here. And if he loses, is LA Knight just kind of done? Like, is he just killed off right there? But what do you think, Max? Like, if he loses this match?
I think he was brought in for exactly this. I genuinely think he was brought into NXT to kind of be like the Miz of NXT.
Ew.
Like someone that people know around in wrestling circles. They know who this guy is. Standard worker, nothing special in terms of in-ring ability. Great promo, can put over people, and because of his stature, he can put over younger talents and stuff. So I think this is his wheelhouse within NXT.
Makes sense. I mean, yeah, the Miz comparison makes a lot of sense for him to be like, he could be the next Miz. I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing to people or if it's a bad thing to people, right? Like if you're talking bona fide heat, he's not a fan of that. Probably he's not a huge Miz guy. So, Dan, what about you? Like, is like you were saying this before, is like you're in a lose between these two guys. Who hurts the most from a loss here?
Probably Ellen, just because he's newer, like Grimes. He's had big matches before. I haven't won them. That's fine. He's come back. He's always been a prominent role, just the way his character is. But it's his first proper. I know he's had match of Bronson Reed, but it is his first marquee matchup on NXT. And you want to show him as a legitimate threat to people. If you want to swap people over, you got to be a legitimate force to be reckoned with. So I feel like it might be damaging, but big guys are easier to build back up as credible threats. So either way, I think you'll be okay. And WWE seem to like him, so I think you'll be okay either way.
Yeah, and we've seen this happen when guys come in the company from NXT, they immediately get a takeover match and they tend to win those matches, right? We've seen that with a lot of guys before: Shinsuke, Balor, Owens, guys like that. Guys have come in, they've got their big first takeover match and they've won. So it's gonna be a tough call. I think it's the toughest call. I think it's pretty much the only match on the card where the outcome isn't as obvious. I think a lot of the other ones are pretty obvious for the most part. This one definitely is kind of a toss-up. I like it. I enjoy it. I think it should kick off the show or be smack dab right in the middle of the show. It's obviously not going to main event, so I think they should take one of those either two spots. It's not a big card, so they can either do the beginning and start it off hot, or put it smack dab right in the middle and make it feel like that middle match is going to be the most, unpredictable match of them all. But let's get to the comments real quick. We have SCW saying, "What's up, guys? 5-way for NXT Championship and the $1 Million Championship ladder match got me buzzing for TakeOver." Totally correct. Yeah, I agree with you completely. Thank you for the comment, SCW Steve. Yeah, those are the two big things of this. It's the card built around that, and the winner take all might be kind of interesting too, because it's something we haven't seen in a long time. My brother Michael think Virgil comes in and helps Grimes win. Ooh, that's money right there. And if you have a social media account and you do not follow Virgil, I suggest you follow him, because you're going to hear some wild and outlandish stuff if you do not follow that man on social media. But that'd be pretty cool. I mean, honestly, I don't think so, because he's shown up in AEW, so he's probably persona non grata now to WWE. But we haven't seen him in a really long time, other than the AEW stuff. But that'd be pretty funny if you did come out and kind of help Cameron Grimes win that. Okay, so with that match out of the way, it's a big one. A very, very interesting one. Let's get to one that, I'm not super excited about, but it kind of is what it is. And it's Mercedes Martinez taking on Zile of Tian Shah. So this one has a lot of a supernatural element played in there, because Zile's new character and new gimmick and new crew that she's rolling with of Tian Shah. So this one is kind of put together quickly. Now, the thing was, last night, Mercedes Martinez is having kind of a squash match. She's coming out for a squash match. She gets attacked by Zile and then still ends up squashing her opponent anyways. So playing up how tough and physical she is and how dominant she is. Now, does that hurt Zile? Because Zile couldn't really take her out. Like, she did a pretty bad job of taking her out. But either way, I think Zile has to win this match, because it doesn't really help Mercedes, and Zile's character and her stable really hasn't really done a ton. But Max, I'll kick it over to you. Give me your thoughts on this match.
Yeah, Tian Shah came in hot. Obviously, they had the little feud with Casey Catanzaro and Caden. What's her face? I can't remember the surname.
Caden Carter.
Caden Carter. That's it. Both KC. I'm getting confused. But So since then, we haven't really seen Zile and Tian Shah and anything. So this is kind of random how they kind of put this together. I think a few weeks ago as well, Mercedes Martinez had the scar thing on her fist.
Mm-hmm.
Zile needs a big win, I would say. To be honest, Mercedes Martinez could do with a big win. She hasn't really had one either. Did she beat Rhea Ripley in that cage match? She didn't.
Yes, she did. I think
she did.
I think she did. Yeah, I think so. If I'm not mistaken, I can't remember.
Yeah, maybe that was her big win. But yeah, that was a while ago. So yeah, she could kind of do with one. However, I don't know if you guys saw this, but they spoken about adding to Eva Marie's debut some muscle.
Yes.
And that could either be Piper Niven is one of the names, or Mercedes Martinez. So this could be Zile kind of sending Mercedes Martinez on her way. I mean, for me, it doesn't really work. The fact you lose on TakeOver, then you're gonna turn up as someone's muscle on a Monday night. But this is WWE. The two universes clearly don't exist together. So yeah, I'm gonna go for a Zia Lee win here. She seems like she's got some more business to do in NXT, and this is gonna help their faction.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And the fact that if they're going to bring Mercedes up, even though she was kind of saved from the main roster and Retribution by being brought back down to NXT, right? She was one of the lucky ones. She got out. Not many people can say that. So she got out, and then she's going to be sent back and be put with Eva Marie. I mean, I don't know. I don't think she garners enough heat to get that Eva Marie heat. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Eva Marie has so much heat before she left. People hated her. Like, they just booed the living hell out of her. If she can come back and harness that again, I just don't think Mercedes Martinez is the person to kind of put with her to kind of really get all that heat between the two of them. Now, the bodyguard gimmick thing has been like overplayed, like for the past, since it was first done by, HBK and Diesel. You have currently on NXT, it's heading to that breakup already of Raquel and Dakota Kai. She started off as the Diesel, so the HBK, that was Dakota Kai. Now it's kind of the breakup is coming. So they're going to do it again on the main roster with Eva Marie. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it, but we'll see what happens. But Dan, let me get your thoughts on this match.
Well, I guess Zia, I don't know too much about them both, but I guess it is likely Mercedes Martinez will go up to the main roster. I see it's more likely than Piper Niven, just because one's at NXT, she's been on live TV, knows how it's done. But yeah, I gotta go Zia Lee, especially if she come off with this new faction, this new spooky gimmick or whatever. She can't really. She looks a bit dull if she loses, really. Yes. So it's just Zia Lee quite comfortable. It'll be a good match. It'll probably be a good match. They all are on NXT, but she'll win, definitely.
Yeah, and then I think Zia Lee does need this more to be kind of showcased, right? Rather than Mercedes Martinez has had some bigger matches, whether she's won them or not, but she has had that before. Zia Lee is somebody who really doesn't. Michael, with the Lee and the other one, nobody cares. You got a point. I mean, at this point, nobody really cares too much about this match or who's involved in it or Tian Shah. Tian Shah started off pretty hot and something different, right? They started off pretty cool. And then I think it just they never really did anything with us. It just completely died off and we were just kind of forgot about it. And the fact that they've been gone for such a long time since, was it Casey Catanzaro got hurt? And then it's just kind of, left. So her coming back now and just randomly facing her, if it has an element of supernatural stuff to it, I think it'll make the match more interesting and maybe catapult Zia Lee out of this feud going forward. If Mercedes is the one to go up to the main roster, they should add that element of supernatural since it already happened with the marking on, like you said, on Mercedes Martinez's hand, and that's why the feud started. So it's an interesting one. It's not the most excited one. This is going to be like a middle of the card, kind of maybe second, third match, something like that. But let's get to this next match, and it is the Women's Championship. We have Raquel Gonzalez, NXT champion, taking on Ember Moon, a former NXT champion, looking to become a two-time NXT champion. Ember took on Dakota Kai. Yesterday, Raquel Gonzalez got involved, caused the DQ finish. I think it's pretty obvious that Raquel Gonzalez is going to win this one out. She's going to have a lengthy feud is what it seems like. And with the way wrestling works, that reverse momentum, the go-home show, Ember Moon had the momentum going in, right? She hit the eclipse on Raquel Gonzalez, stood tall at the end. So basically tipping the cap that she's going to lose the match. But Dan, I'll start with you first. What do you think about this NXT Women's title match?
Well, this match, this needs to be, remember how good Ember Moon actually is, how over she was the last time running NXT and when she came up to the roster. This needs to be she's still good. She can still kick people's head, but Raquel recently, she had that big title win. She seems to be that main person they built the divisions around. And this one, I think they might put a shock and go with Ember just because she's established and she's been there, done it like they did with Finn. But I'll probably go with Raquel, stick it out. She's good. She's on the roll. She's doing well, and she's just gonna grow and grow. So.
But I think, you're right. This is a good way for Ember Moon to kind of be reestablished as what she was previously. I do like her and Shotzi together. I assume Shotzi's dealing with a legitimate injury. That's why she's gone. I haven't heard. I'm not completely sure about that, but that's why Ember's getting this singles run. and they did the whole injury spot with Raquel beating up Shotzi Blackheart. So I don't think Ember stands much of a chance, but it's a good way to reestablish her as a single star in the division. Maybe we see Frankie Monet get involved. Maybe we see somebody else get involved as well to kind of set the next feud, or this could be the leading up to the breakup of Gonzalez and Kai in this match. We could see that as well. But Max, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is going to be not necessarily a standard Raquel Gonzalez win, but she's very early into her reign, so I can't see her dropping the belt here. Ember Moon, just someone that can bring Raquel Gonzalez to a great match, make her look like a star, still maintain some dignity for herself in defeat. Yeah, it's just a bog standard match. Unfortunately, again, this has been one of these ones that have just kind of been put together on the fly. We've had maybe 2, max 3 weeks build for this particular match. She's just avenging what happened to Shotzi Blackheart, and she just walked her way into a championship picture. She this should just be a feud without the belt, really. Why is the belt on the line? But she's a champion, so I guess it comes with it. But yeah, I think Raquel Gonzalez to retain.
I totally agree with you. Like the women's division now, it's always strong, right? But now it's on a bit of a changing of the guard because people are getting kind of swapped in and out with the loss of Rhea Ripley, but not much else is left. It just feels different, the whole division itself. Ripley's pretty much the only one that's gone. We had Shirai make her comeback last night, thanks to trifling ass Poppy. But so we had that. Now it's interesting. Who do you guys think is the next person in line to take on Raquel, or even the next person to take the title off Raquel? To me, the person that seems like a megastar or star in the division is Frankie Monet. I think she has the entire package that you need. In terms of have like a heel to come in and maybe take that title off of her. Eventually, she does have some size to her as well. There's just a lot of other women in the division right now. They're kind of just there, and they seem too fresh or just not at that level to take the title off of her. Eventually, unless Dakota Kai is maybe the eventual person to do it. But Max, what do you think?
Yeah, Frankie Monet is a great shout. I mean, I'm just trying to think of the pipeline after Frankie Monet, because Frankie Monet is like a heel as well, her attitude, isn't it? So Raquel Gonzalez is a heel, but maybe she turns to her face following a feud with Dakota Kai. So yeah, maybe Frankie Monet. I still can't believe Candice LeRae hasn't won it.
Yes, that's an interesting one. Yeah.
Absolutely crazy to me. So I would like to see Candice LeRae win it at some point.
But like what you're saying there is that they could eventually turn Raquel. To me, I think she could be a babyface. Like she feels just like Diesel, right? That's what she feels like. And then her winning it, and then like her partner turning on her, the fact that becomes the heel HBK and she's the babyface Diesel. It feels like the exact same thing. You already know that Shawn Michaels has like a major hand in this whole thing because it just feels like that. But Dan, what do you think? Who do you think is the person to kind of come up and then eventually maybe take the title off of Raquel?
Well, like I said, it's crazy how Candice LeRae's never won that title. That's nuts. And also, I don't know how long Shotzi's injured for, but she, especially with fans coming back full capacity soon, she's natural for that role to be that big underdog who wins it off the big bad.
That's a good show.
Dominant champion. And yeah, they've got options. Like they go with Candice, she's reliable, she knows what she's there, she's been there. Dakota Kai, Shotzi. But if Shotzi's injury isn't for too long, Shotzi would be a good one, definitely.
Yeah, and then I think maybe the best way to kind of swap the title eventually down the road will be to maybe do a fatal 4-way match and have like Frankie, Raquel, Shirai, and LeRae, and then maybe you can get the title on LeRae there or something like that. Because I don't like to see the difference between like the two, like LeRae and then Raquel's like up here in size. It's just like it's kind of like you can't really believe it too much. West Coast Pop in the chat. What's up, everybody? What's up, West Coast Pop? He also, Frankie Monet has to be next. Anyone hear about Tegan Nox and her recovery? Tegan Nox, good shot right there too as well. Tegan Nox, forgot about her. When she can come back and then eventually continue to feud with Candice LeRae again, maybe Johnny Gargano again, we can see that go down, and her eventually maybe make a run at it too as well. There's a lot of people in play in this division. You still have Toni Storm, right?
Yeah, I don't think Toni Storm's gonna win it. She's won the NXT UK one. She won the Mae Young Classic. I think not necessarily it'll be overkill. She's a believable champion, but I think they may give her a break you know, until maybe she reaches main roster and then goes after the title again. I don't think she's necessarily going to win it on NXT. Another name I just thought of was that the newest Japanese lady, Sarai.
Oh yes, yep.
Which they're slowly kind of building as well. So that could be a possible face champion at some point.
Yeah, her and Shirai in a match probably be pretty cool too. Sarai and Shirai, that'd be a pretty cool match. Probably be physical as hell as well too. Speaking of West Coast Podcast, stay tuned for them because I'm dropping a video on. They're dropping on their channel. I'm dropping it on my channel as well. A collab we did together where we watched the big Shawn Michaels Ric Flair retirement match, and we kind of just do a watch along there. So stay tuned for that. We're dropping it either today or tomorrow. Their channel as well. I'll be dropping as well. So stay tuned for that one. But yeah, so going back to the women's division, it's an interesting spot. Like I said, not much is left, but it feels like a completely different division for some reason. I think they got to go with a multi-person match eventually, maybe for the next takeover. If you plan on swapping the title there, and I want to see the development of Frankie Monet going forward, where Candice LeRae and Io Shirai end up because they are technically feuding right now because of what happened last night. But it should be very interesting going forward. And you also have the women's tag titles in play there as well. So it's like, you take women out of the singles mix to create more tag teams because the tag team titles of the women already feel more important now on NXT. They do on the main roster. That's a given, right? But the roster really isn't that deep enough to have that many tag teams, right? Am I right on that?
You mean the main roster?
No, the NXT roster, like the terms of female tag teams, there's not really many of them right now, right? To kind of because like Candice LeRae and Indy don't feel like they have any challengers.
Yeah, that's true. I guess the problem is they're lacking established tag teams.
Yes,
people can always come together and whatever do a thing, but they're lacking. Yeah, like this is our tag name, this is our tag, uniform, this is our tag, the whole shebang. So they've. It's looked better on NXT than it ever did on main roster. And now in main roster, there's only actually, 2 official tag teams left, the champions and Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose, which is just embarrassing. So yeah, maybe even Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose and these guys, the champions, should come down to NXT. They just merge this belt once and for all. It stays on NXT. Yeah. And just get rid of it off the main roster. It's a joke.
Yeah, because having the 2 hurts both divisions, right? And one of them already being kind of useless, like the tag team titles and women's tag titles in the main roster, completely useless at this point. The one on the NXT makes more sense because the division's so much stronger down there, and they can always cycle other competitors in and out because they have such a deep pool of talent to pick and choose from. Also, a way to build up younger talent is have them start off in a tag team. They can work with other veteran tag teams, get to know the ropes better, become more accustomed to everything, then eventually branch off there. You can create stars that way. We've seen it with millions of tag teams before, Heart Foundation, Rockers, stuff like that. They work together and then they branch off. One of them's a star, one of them kind of isn't, and then you kind of go from there. We've seen it so many times, like Edge and Christian, the Hardys, everything like that, Dudleys. One of them is bigger star than the other, and that tag team forms that. They're able to kind of develop that, and you see which one is more of the star. But then what do you think about this women's division? Like, does the tag team titles hurt this division, and where do you see it going forward?
Scrap up. Like, as much as we want to say, oh yeah, we got all different kinds of wrestling. We got men's tag teams, women's tag teams, this, that, and other. Scrap them. No one really cares. Like, genuinely, people see a women's tag match and they go, oh, this is the toilet break match. They could have the best wrestlers in the world in that match. And if you got no teams, why is it a championship? Like, no one's going to believe, oh, these two just come together. It's almost like it's free entry. Like, me and you could be a tag team and we'd be number 1 contenders for the women's tag team championship. That's generally what it feels like. And I think scrap them. Even if you want that second title, bring in a second women's title, singles, because just the tag teams, it just doesn't work. Like, they've tried it for a year and a bit now. And, like, you broke up the Iconics. You broke up Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, Sasha Banks and Bayley. There's no formidable ones. Like, you could do a big women's tag match if you want on pay-per-view. If you had, like, Trish come back, team up with Sasha, or, you can do that sort of stuff. But if you want to see it as a division, as a whole, like, almost subsector of the whole roster, it don't work. There's no team. There's literally no teams. Like, I scrap it and, like, no one cares. There's not been one time where I've looked at the card and gone, oh, that woman's tag team match I really care about. There's not been one time. So for me, I just get rid of it.
Yeah, I think they probably should, or at least get rid of one of them, because right now, Indy and Hartwell's she has a title, her and Candice LeRae, but I'm more interested by Indy and Dexter Loomis storyline, and now Candice LeRae and Io Shirai. So it's like, what do you do? Let's get to the chat real quick. We got some love for Dan here, just like last time.
That's my guys.
You got a Regina saying,
Regina.
shout out for Dan right here. We have Becco. Becco, what's up, brother? How you doing? He says the boys are back at it.
Champion boxer. Floyd Mayweather, Logan Paul got nothing on Becco.
There it is. There it is. We got Dan's crew invading the chat. Love to see it. Jake Richardson, love you, Dan. And then he replied, not.
Wow.
Shots fired there. But appreciate everybody joining the chat. If you haven't, dropped a like on this one and just stay tuned. We got a couple more matches to get through in this one, and it's gonna be a good time. These are my main guys to do these predictions with. Love doing it with them. West Coast Popcast here. They might have to start bringing over some NXT UK talent for the women's tag division. That's good. Good call from West Coast Popcast right there, because that is totally true. They have a plethora of women over there that they can kind of grab, take them over, and then just kind of put them in, plug and play. You got to have opponents for these tag team titles because they're kind of just there. So we have a former tag team champion in Ember Moon now in her singles taking on Raquel Gonzalez. So now you have another one less tag team for them for Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. So I mean, it's tough. Cousin Eric, in your house, you know it. Let's get to the next match here. And it's going to be this winner take all. We have 2 more matches to go. Winner take all. This is an interesting one, man. It really, really is. We've seen these types of matches before. But normally, if I remember correctly, one team has one title and the other team has another title. And then they're kind of just going back. This one team has all the gold and the other team's trying to take all the gold from them. So it's an interesting little shake up there to this whole kind of setup. Now, I think it would have made more sense, like I said on my review of NXT yesterday, Kushida instead of Bronson Reed. Because with Bronson Reed being in there, it's kind of obvious he's not going to lose, right? He just won that title. And if he loses it, he's kind of dead in the water, because if he loses it, wins it back later on, it doesn't mean as much. And it's kind of So it's his first kind of feud coming out of it. I think Kushida would have made more sense, even though Escobar has outgrown the Cruiserweight title. I think he's a mega star, mega star, Santos Escobar. I just don't see them winning it. Like, I think Bronson Reed's too young into his run. But I'll kick it over to Dan. What do you think about this match?
It's a cool, like, we haven't seen this concept much of a 6-man tag and like all these titles on the line.
Yeah.
And I think doing this is a lot better than having these 2 as separate matches. It makes it more hype, more interesting. The stakes are high, which is what wrestling lacks, high stakes matches. And like both these, like MSK are great. Lord, I don't know how to say the name, but Escobar's boys, their group, they're good. Like Escobar, he outgrown the division. He is money. I'm telling you, he could be in the NXT title picture soon. Like, but it doesn't make sense for him to fight Bronson after having a cruiserweight match for the cruiserweight title and then fighting a super heavyweight.
Yeah.
You know, it's too big. Like, he can face a mid-card guy, that's fine, but it's a massive jump from a cruiserweight to a super heavyweight. But it'll be a fun match, and the champions retain. It doesn't feel like a show where titles will change hands, really.
It doesn't. Yeah, correct. It doesn't feel like, it feels like an in-between show, which is an in your house. I mean, that's what they are, right? Like, in your house are like those in-between shows to get you to the big one. And that's what they're meant for. That's why they were cheaper before and everything like that. Let's get back to the chat, because Dan's squad is up in this chat. Morgan Jones, Upper Dan is what he has to say. Reese Jones says, Danny San, what's up? And then he would say, Dan. There we go, man. We love to see it. Dan's crew up in the chat. You love to see it. That's interesting. West Coast Podcast still says, I still can't believe how good Santos is on the mic. I think he might actually win the belt. Funny you said that. Let me spit this out there before I lose it in my mind. I think Santos Escobar is Andrade, but able to cut a promo. That's what he is. He is Andrade, but he can cut a promo because he speaks amazing. I talk about this all the time. The guy speaks amazing English. Somebody myself, I am Hispanic. I speak Spanish. I know how difficult the languages are. And the fact that he's able to speak English that well is what takes this guy to a whole nother level. And he's Andrade, but able to cut a promo. Max, let me get your opinion.
I mean, I'm sure the whole world knows how much I love Legado del Fantasma. Like, I absolutely love Santos Escobar. You know, if this match was, say, a couple months down the line, SummerSlam weekend, yeah, it would be them taking all the gold, 100%. But like you said, Bronson Reed has just won the North American Championship. I think MSK are good to do, drop the title and maybe win it back some other time. But with Bronson Reed on their team, it's just a tad bit early for him to lose it. And yeah, man, this would be a fantastic way to swap all of those titles and really kind of crown Legado del Fantasma as this massive faction in NXT. But yeah, it's looking like it's not gonna be them on this occasion. And obviously, for all those of us that saw on NXT this past week, Hit Row have kind of thrown their name into the hat for this kind of whole division of the North American and the tag team championship. So that could be something that's pretty interesting to look out for. But yeah, no, like everyone said already, Santos Escobar, North American Championship could be the next step up. If Karrion Kross eventually does move on in the next couple of months to the main roster and the quote unquote smaller guys are holding the NXT title again, I'm sure Santos Escobar goes straight into that picture just because it looks believable that he can, hang with those kind of guys. So yeah, man, I'll go with Bronson Reed and MSK to retain, but they're just very lucky that Bronson Reed is on their side and he just won the title.
Yeah, that's definitely the kind of the difference maker there is that he just won that championship. If Kushida's in this spot, I think Legado Fantasma takes this. But again, you brought up perfectly the Hit Row. That is another wrench thrown in there, and they could be going after this trio of guys after they take care of Legado Fantasma. But let's kick it over back to the chat, because we got SCU. Steve, what there? What's happening, guys? Steve, what is up, man? Let me know what you think. Who are you picking for this specific match here? This winner take all. Who are you taking here? Becco with the SCW shout out. Reese Jones right here. What the dog doing? He would go on to say this 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 times. There you go, right there. You love to see it. West Coast Popcast. When he threw in that Australian accent to mock Bronson, that cracked me up. Yeah, I mean, the guy he is good, man. He really is. They would also go on to say, damn, that's right. Hit Row. Is NXT doing factions better than AEW low key? I'm going to say facts on that one, dude, because to be honest with you, AEW is like faction mania. I mean, it's like nonstop. Every match has a faction involved. A lot of them you don't care about, actually the Factory and the Nightmare families, the ones you don't really care about and stuff like that. They're doing it little by little, and it's coming off pretty good. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. Now, is it Bronson Reed and MSK a faction? No, but they're kind of put together to face another faction. But it's solid stuff. I do like it. Reese Jones said with WWE is actually a good mass debater. It shocked me as well when I found out. I mean, many of us are, but shout out to Dan for being a good one. All right, so let's kick it over to what seems to be the final match on the card, on a short card for this NXT Takeover, and this is big fatal 5-way here. We have the champion Karrion Kross. He is taking on Johnny Gargano, former NXT champion, Adam Cole, a former NXT champion, Pete Dunne, former NXT UK champion, and Kyle Oreilly, who's just there. But he's obviously he's obviously a good guy there. But yeah, everybody there has had gold. Kyle Oreilly really hasn't had much other than the tag team title. So yeah. This is an interesting one because the promos leading up to this have been interesting. They've kind of broken the fourth wall a little bit and kind of pulled back the veil on what's going on, I guess on the internet and stuff like that. The way they've been taking shots at Karrion Kross, all the shots seem to be faced at Karrion Kross for, I guess, his not most appealing indie style of work in the ring, right? That's the best way I guess I could say it. It's interesting though how they keep attacking a guy who's supposed to be the dominant champion. It's interesting because like last night, here comes Kyle Oreilly. He would go on to give kudos to Karrion Kross, saying he's the most dominant champion we've ever seen in NXT, and then he would officially go on to bury him immediately after that. So it doesn't make a ton of sense. Pete Dunne straight up walks up to Karrion Kross in the ring with no fear. I'm not sure the thinking behind a lot of this doesn't make a ton of sense. I did like when Kross called Gargano a mark. I thought that was funny. But it's reminiscent to the Attitude Era where they would actually say this inside terminology and stuff like that, like backstage stuff in their promos. So I do like that aspect of it. I'm kind of love-hate with this, how the way it's going down. But I'll kick it over to Max. Who do you think is winning this one? How do you think it's going to go down?
I can't lie. I must say that I felt quite uncomfortable watching NXT and these guys were literally bullying Karrion Kross for his
Yes.
in-ring style. I felt very uncomfortable, and after I stopped feeling sorry for Karrion Kross, I literally said to myself, this guy is going to kill you guys on Sunday. He is going to F you lot up, because that's his thing. It's not necessarily who's the best worker out here. It's the efficiency and how he gets it done. Now, is Karrion Kross gonna retain? I mean, he's undefeated. He's undefeated in NXT. He's not been pinned. I think 13 or 14 matches now. Multi-man matches are a good way to protect the champion that doesn't need to get pinned. Adam Cole can pin Dunne, for instance, and yeah, that's it. The title changes hands. And then, we've already heard about the whole NXT UK talents are moving up to the main roster soon. So is Karrion Kross one of them? Or I guess the other person that's really been majorly highlighted here is Adam Cole. Does Adam Cole lose and get moved up? Part of me thinks that Adam Cole maybe wins here, and then we can eventually do Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole for the championship. Kyle O'Reilly wins it.
Yep.
But Karrion Kross, I can't imagine he's gonna take the slander and then lose. It's tricky. I think Johnny Gargano, Pete Dunne, and Kyle O'Reilly aren't winning. I think this is definitely between Adam Cole and Karrion Kross, and I think just because of how he's being picked on and like bullied in the school playground, I'm gonna stick with Karrion Kross to retain here.
Yeah, he has been being bullied. You're correct on that, right? Like it's weird how they all come at him and they just start like trash talking him and stuff about his in ring work. Which, remember, okay, call back to our Double or Nothing predictions. You made a good point, Max, about Kenny Omega, right? And how his title run is going, how it's different now compared to his stuff in Japan was more serious there. Now he's doing more of the entertainment factor. When it comes to Karrion Kross, the man is a main roster guy. You can just tell it coming off him. It's all about the character, the mystique behind it. Scarlett, I mean, he's like, the most beautiful woman in wrestling next to him. All the stuff going on around him, the tarot cards, the entrance. That's what it's all about. His in-ring work is the last thing that matters. I'm not saying he's a bad wrestler or anything like that. He's just not the flashiest or the one that does the most flips and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's what it is. And that's what they're beefing with him about, right? That he doesn't do all that and they do all that. So it should be interesting to see. I think he's going to dominate. And I think they're going to book it like they book a Lesnar multi-man match where they all work together to get Lesnar out. And then Lesnar wins an Academy Award with the acting job he does when he's out the ring for like majority of it. Then he comes back in out of nowhere and just does the craziest power moves. And you see his athleticism. I think that's the way they'll book it, because they want to treat Kross like a Lesnar type, not to that level, but somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead, Max.
I will just say that we are looking at a multi-man match, which some have said it's lazy. I do agree that there's an aspects of this, all coming together is a bit lazy. If Karrion Kross does win, this is the entire NXT main event scene that he beats, especially if he does it in a fashion like you've just outlined, Anthony, like he rises from the dead and just takes out everybody. I don't particularly mind it, but then I'm going to have to need for SummerSlam weekend Karrion Kross versus Walter.
Yes,
that's what's left, because you've annihilated everyone else. So that's what's left. If that's where we're going, then cool. So yeah.
I mean, I ain't gonna lie, that's premier booking by you right there. Like that, for it to work out that way and Walter be the guy at the end of the road, I think that's tremendous booking. But let's kick it over to Dan. What do you think?
Well, it's such a fun match on paper. When you look how good the people in the ring is, and we saw a taste of it on the NXT and they all beefing, and like it is different because with a dominant champion, normally people are like act quite cowardly when they're facing them. But the fact that they've actually stepped up to him and they've given him a bit of what he'd give back, it does show that like there is more of a chance, more believable of him losing it. Because he said, all right, I don't care how dominant you are, we tough ourselves, And like Adam Cole's promo has been great. Pete Dunne, Johnny Gargano, brilliant in the ring. Like it is a crazy matchup. And how it's gonna play, it's gonna be a lot similar to SummerSlam 2017 when they did that big fatal 4-way. Just you're gonna have 5 of the best wrestlers, they're all gonna kick each other's asses, they're gonna go hell for leather. and like you could see like I think Adams between Cross and Cole, but Pete Dunne as well. I could actually see Pete Dunne winning it because especially if Cross is going to the main roster, and I don't think Cole should have the belts back straight away. You know, he had that big feud to Kyle Oreilly. Like he's better chasing the championship rather than holding it, I find.
Yeah, it makes total sense, right? Like what you said. Now it's just interesting. How do they like? I'm more interested about how they book the match and how it plays out, right? Could they? You said they're all gonna beat living hell out of each other. Yeah, that's what they're gonna do. That now, I'm interested to see how it happens. Do you see a chink in the armor of Karrion Kross, like a chink, like a little? They're kind of break it down, and he's actually like he barely comes out on top, and you see a vulnerable side to him. Because he is technically a baby face now. So you kind of have to have him feel some type of sympathy for him because he can't just be an absolute monster that dominates. So maybe that's why they went the 5-way route to kind of have a chink in the armor there for Karrion Kross so you can kind of just drop down a little bit. And then you have somebody else that can believably beat him if you're not going to go the Walter route. Because generally speaking, like you said, Walter's the only guy that makes that much sense to actually take the title from this guy. And then you run into the predicament who beats Walter after that, right? Like that's where you run into yeah. So it's like, you kind of go from one to another, but interesting calls by you guys on how this match might work out. I think Kross holds on. I don't think he's going to be called up just yet. I think he's more of a guy who gets called up night after Mania to make a big impactful thing where he attacks the champion or attacks somebody like that, like immediately off the bat. I think they may go, like I said, with the whole Lesnar type style. That's why they put so many guys in this ring to beat the hell out of Kross, because I feel like when the match starts, they're all going to jump Kross. I feel like that's what it's going to go down. Because like the way NXT ended, I think they all jump Kross in the beginning and they try to get him out of the match. He sells his ass off, hopefully, and then he comes back in and just kind of cleans house. And then they go from there, spot after spot after spot. It will be interesting. But Dan, who are you picking as your final pick for this match? Who's winning?
I think that Scarlett, she's going to be used a bit in this. I think if you could have a situation where the heels in this, Cole, Gargano, Pete Dunne, they grab Scarlett, like, right, great Cross, choose. We're going to double super kick her, or, come, and then one can stick in the ring. They can make him choose between his girlfriend and the title, and I think that would be quite a cool way for him to lose it and have him in that dilemma where his morals actually at.
Well, I mean, his character has changed, right? Because I remember in the beginning, it felt more supernatural than it does now with the whole hourglass and stuff like that. Do they go back to the well on that? Do they add an element of supernaturalness to it? Like Scarlett hasn't done much of anything when it comes to matches, right? She doesn't really get involved. She's just kind of out there. She finally did the tarot card promos, so she brought that back a little bit. Yeah, I could definitely see her getting involved, just like you said, to a point like that or something different. Maybe be supernatural that helps him get the win. I think he either has a Lesnar performance or he squeaks out and kind of holds it, and then you see him become a more vulnerable champion. But Max, is your final pick Kross, or are you picking somebody else?
Yeah, it's Kross, man. I think, like you said, that the Lesnar way of doing it is probably what's going to go down. They have mocked him for his in-ring ability. Yeah. So this is very much a story of, well, I'm going to show you why I don't need to be doing 450s to win matches. I'm just literally going to put my forearm through your face. And remember, again, with the fact it's a multi-man match, there's no disqualifications.
Yes.
So he might take this to supreme levels of violence. I'm sure they will, to, like you said, again, knock him down and keep him out of this match. But then he may, to get the punctuation mark on it all, you may still see a steel chair taken to every man, and all kinds of stuff in terms of getting involved. What will be interesting to see how long this match lasts, because these matches don't seem to last too long, but we know the other guys in this match can go for ages.
Yes.
So yeah, I think they can. It's got to be Kross, really and truly. After the bullying, it's got to be Kross.
Yeah, he can't lose after all that, right? Like after all that, the way they've bullied him, yeah, he can't. I don't think he can lose, because like then what happens to Kross? He goes to the main roster, but then like everybody's gonna remember this guy's got bullied out of NXT, basically, right? He got bullied, got lost the belt, and then that was a wrap for him. Eric talking about Legado del Fantasma, one of the most entertaining heel stables on NXT. MSK Awesome Energy should be a good match. It's gonna be an awesome match. I think it might be. Between that and the ladder match might be the best match on the show. I'm not picking the 5-way because it's just a lot of guys in the ring, and sometimes it can get kind of a cluster. But I just think they're going to go with the whole book it like they do with Lesnar, and I think it'll be fine if they do it that way. Zach in the chat, great watch, guys. Got to head out for a live stream. A 4-year-old PS4 game. Hashtag John Cena sucks. Zach is not a John Cena guy, as you can tell. Very funny, him and the West Coast Pop guys, when they get to talk about John Cena. But thanks for joining, Zach. Really do appreciate it. So back to this matchup. I think, Kross seems like the most likely guy to come out on top. I think if you had to pick a second guy, like a stand-in, who wins it like a second place for this? Max, I'll start with you.
Adam Cole, 100%. Yeah, I think if Adam Cole was to win it, then the plan is definitely him and Kyle Oreilly going at it again. Maybe SummerSlam weekend. But yeah, I would love for Pete Dunne to win it. That's who my heart would be set on. If anyone to really win this match, it would be Pete Dunne. But I just think like he hasn't really been prominent in the whole build up and stuff like that. So maybe not. Although he's probably got the best record going into this, they have booked him very strong. But yeah, I think it'll be Adam Cole.
What about you, Dan? Who's your second place?
Last time I backed the Brit quite heavily in Double or Nothing, and that fell apart quite badly. But I think I'm gonna go with Dunne. I think you go back in British, tough competitor. I think if it's not Kross, then give it to Pete Dunne. All apart from O'Reilly, the others have had tighter reigns, and he'd be good with it. He'd definitely be good with it. Him and Regal, that story goes all the way back to NXT UK. There's a lot you can do with Pete Dunne, and I gotta back him. He is British. I'm gonna stick to my Brits.
Now, it's funny you brought up that, right? The Regal element. Now, Regal has lost control of his roster according to what happened yesterday on NXT, right? Does that play out in this match or play out going forward with whoever wins? Now, if I had to pick a second place, I'm picking Johnny Gargano. I think he weasels his way out of it if he is him. And I think it'll be a lot of fun to have a weaselly champion like a Johnny Gargano as NXT champion with Kross and everybody else chasing him for it. But what do you think about Regal? Does Regal, the fact that he lost, why else would they play that up, that he lost control of the roster, if it's not going to lead somewhere? I'll start with you, Dan. Do you think that's leading somewhere?
Yeah, it's going after if it's your main event, sure, they could do some fun stuff. Even Triple H comes down, because you've got Regal and then Triple H. Yeah. And then they know it's serious then when Triple H is getting involved. And if Triple H is up for it, maybe you could wrestle in NXT. That would be cool to see. And you could see someone just Regal taking a bump or something. You'll get hit and trying to control the match or trying to do something fun. And they could do a lot of things. And you got these factions that Hit Row Records. They're gonna be on Regal's back. Look Del Fantasma, they're gonna be on Regal's back. So you could see Regal completely losing control, and it'd be a bit of the Wild West almost.
That would actually be pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, but what do you think, Max?
I'm not against seeing Triple H be, brought in as the disciplinarian, Karrion Kross. You don't run the place, even especially after if he is to retain, he thinks he's, runs the place, and William Regal has lost control, and William Regal effectively goes and gets the big boss Triple H to put him in his place, and we have a title defense against Triple H, and obviously that will be good for Karrion Kross. I wouldn't expect Triple H to win that, but to be honest with Triple H, you never know. But if Karrion Kross was to beat Triple H, that's another feather in the cap, as they say. That could be very interesting, because like we're saying, there may be a drought of serious contenders if Karrion Kross walks out of this match unscathed with the championship.
Talk about a perfect segue. Here comes Ryan Awesome in the chat. If Kross wins, who's next for Kross? Just answered it right there. It could be Triple H. It could be Walter at SummerSlam, maybe take over. But Triple H makes a ton of sense, right? To come in. He's got to control the roster, just like you said, Max and Dan. And he comes in and he has to take on Karrion Kross, and he gets obliterated by Kross. Just completely destroyed. I think that's probably the best way to book it. But those could be guys that could come for Kross.
I do think there's one other name. Keith Lee. Keith Lee has obviously not been featured on Raw for a long time. If he is to kind of, come back down to NXT, if you like, Keith Lee, Karrion Kross is who he lost the title to.
Yep.
So Keith Lee could be someone that, if they haven't got anything for him main roster, they bring him back down to NXT and insert him into this. I think that could be quite good as well.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. If he's for whatever reason he's gone, right? Like we don't know. I think it's something medical with Keith Lee. If he can get that in order and he wants to come back to NXT and kind of just rebuild himself from there, I think that'd be good stuff too because there is that history built in there. All right, so we got the resident Kross hater in the chat, Eric. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Pete Dunne never gives a bad match, but they will let Kross retain. You hear the wording there, right? Let's Kross retain. He's a resident Kross hater, not a huge fan of Kross. He hates big guys. But I'm a character guy. I love characters. I love that aspect of it. I don't care if you could do 27 flips in the ring. That's fine. That's cool. You know, it's cool. I think it's done a little bit too much nowadays, but I love characters. I love storylines. I love the drama behind it. That's what I care about the most. Pete Dunne, a tremendous performer. We all know that. I don't like the one. I think he relies a little bit too much on the cracking of the finger sometimes. I think he might do a little bit too much when it comes to certain matches. That's just being real nitpicky right there. Here's Cena Nation Dog. Rated R for wrestling. Fun fact, if Pete Dunne wins the NXT champion, he will be the first person to have hold the NXT and NXT UK championships. Yeah, I mean, there's a story built into there, right? Like that's something pretty cool. And
Rhea Ripley has done it for the women.
Yeah, so, yeah. And she'll be he'll be the first for the man. But do they save that for Walter?
Walter is coming to the US. I need Walter on NXT main. I honestly do. But he just doesn't seem interested in coming to America.
No, he doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they can put him up somewhere real nice and let him live like lavishly for a few months, you know, so he doesn't have to deal with anything else. And he's just like, all right, here's a man. We bought you a mansion, chill in there. We'll give you servants, and you kind of just hang out and make it as pleasant as possible for you. Just give us 6 months as the champion. That's all we ask, right? Yeah, but definitely could be a Walter, like you said, to come in and take this title off of Kross. It's just interesting when you book monsters. How do you take the title off of them? You have a monster as your men's and women's champions right now. How do you take it off of them? The booking becomes kind of interesting to storytelling going forward there. But those are the matches for this takeover. Now, get to the final, the end of the stream. Always like to ask you guys what's going to be the best match of the show. I'll start with Dan. What do you think is going to be the best match of this takeover?
Well, I think it's going to be the 6-man tag or the winner takes all match. I think the way that's going to be done is going to be fast-paced, fun. It's not going to be drawn out. It's just going to be action from the get-go. I think as you're watching it, you're going to be like, that's the one you'll pop the most for.
I think too, Bronson Reed's probably gonna like not literally squash like the three of them at once. Not squash them like a squash match, but like squash them, like physically squash them at some point in this match. But Mex, what do you think is gonna be the best match of the night?
I'm most looking forward to right now anyway, the ladder match for the $1 million title. I think the 6-man tag is gonna be very, very fun. But I think the main event is just gonna be a complete car crash, just chaos with, I mean, the guys involved. And, you know, Dan compared it to that SummerSlam match we got back in the day with Lesnar, Strowman, Roman, and Samoa Joe.
Yes.
It's going to be that kind of beautiful chaos that isn't really akin to what we're used to at NXT. We're used to kind of nice, kind of put together matches, but I think we're going to get a really good match. Again, probably about 4 out of, you know, the 5 matches on this are all going to be bangers.
Yeah, mine is probably like the lowest one on the totem pole is probably Mercedes Martinez, Zile, right? Like that's probably the lowest expectations. Eric in the chat, Keith Lee, word is he gonna be on Unsolved Mystery? Yes, I mean he could eventually be as to what happened with Keith Lee. Where did he go? He disappeared. Cena Nation Dog, why did they not have much build for NXT Takeover in your house? It depends on what matches you pick. That's a subjective take. I think they built a lot of it solidly. I mean, Ember and Raquel, not much of a build, right? It's just you heard Shotzi. All right, let's go for the title. Yeah. The winner take all has been a pretty solid little build because MSK and Fantasma have been beefing for a while. The only caveat there is Kushida and Escobar is where the beef was previously, and then they just kind of changed it to Reed now and Escobar. And the $1 million title has had the build it's had because obviously, you know, it's been built for a while. But the other stuff, I agree with you, hasn't had a ton of build. It's kind of thrown together. See Nation Dog also says LA Knight and Cameron Grimes will steal the show. I think so as well. I think that'll be the best match of the night. It's probably because I'm a mark for that title and them having this match. That's probably why I'm so high on it. It may disappoint and may not, but I think that's probably the best. But again, the championship match, like you said, the NXT Championship Fatal 5 was going to be a nuts match. Again, if you want to see what we're talking about when they book it like a Lesnar booking, watch that Royal Rumble triple threat Cena, Rollins, Lesnar. I forget what year, it might be 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
It's when Rollins had the Money in the Bank. So leading up to that WrestleMania 31, they had that amazing triple threat match, one of the best you ever see. And in that match, they take out Lesnar, and he literally they should have handed him the Academy Award for the way he sold and was gone. And then he would come in like, you know, just out of nowhere and destroy Rollins and then win the match. It was just nuts. I mean, if you go back and watch it,
Rumble 2015.
2015, awesome. I mean, just tremendous match. When he came in, I think he tried to hit a Phoenix Splash, Rollins, and then Lesnar just jumped in and just destroyed. I mean, this is just nuts stuff. The athlete that man is ridiculous. But yeah, it's super cool. Let's see, Nation, that was Super DB84 is the $1 million champion, official champion. I'm not sure what he means by that. Is he asking if it's an official championship? I don't know. It could be like they could be treating like the FTW title. I don't even know. It's just like kind of just give it to people. But so we'll finish with this. I think this will be the last thing. Max, start with you. What are you gonna give it out of 5? The event before watching it.
Solid 4. It's a takeover. It doesn't disappoint, and especially the fact that this is kind of, like you said, short and sweet. 5 matches, I think it is. You know, the show probably run for about 3 hours, so every match is going to have time to breathe. We may get some debuts or some shenanigans elsewhere as well, which could be fun. So yeah, I think this is going to be a really good show. 4 out of 5. It's
tough to find a bad takeover. I don't think there is one. I don't think that exists. I don't think it's possible for one to be. But Dan, what do you think? 4 out of 5. What are you giving it?
It's like I probably give it the same. There's never been a bad takeover. And also, you find when there's shorter, sweeter cards, it does tend to be better with a shorter card, especially with NXT. And like they'll throw in some callbacks like they did last year with In Your House, and I feel very retro. They have the adverts again. They can do all that. And it's gonna be fun. It's like it's not a serious show. It's just a stop in the road. It's a bit of fun, and then we go to the big takeover.
For SummerSlam. Yeah, exactly. That's what this is. That's why they place it like where it's placed is before SummerSlam and whatever the last one was. Stand and Deliver. Yeah, right. So it's that in between, and then you have this going forward. So yeah, I think it'll be a fun pay-per-view. I don't think it's going to be the greatest takeover of all time, but I would probably have to say, for the sake of not be sounding exactly like you guys, a 4.25. That's what I'll go with going forward. You know, I think it's going to be a tremendous match right there. But C Nation Dog would say, I really want Kyle Oreilly to win the NXT champion, but think Karrion Kross will retain. I mean, yeah, Kyle Oreilly is one of those guys, like, I don't really think he's ever going to get to that spot, maybe. I think more likely I'll probably see Santos Escobar win the NXT title before Kyle Oreilly wins it, to be honest with you. I don't see that character.
I think the cool Kyle thing has failed.
Yes.
That they were trying to do. And Kyle O'Reilly will only become NXT champion if he beats Adam Cole for it.
Yes, so I think that's the only way. Yeah, it makes the most sense.
Champion.
Yes, that's the only way it makes sense, because the story built into it makes sense for him to actually just win that title. What about you, Dan? Do you see this man ever winning Kyle Oreilly, that title?
He's put on good NXT title matches before with Balor and stuff, but he just don't. I can't. It's for me. It's not. He's not a. He's incredible. Not a world champion guy. Like, I think if they do it, it'll be good if they did it. Like, he's no doubt about it. His matches will be good. The feuds will be good. But it's just not one where everyone's going to go, oh, look at him. You know what I mean? He's not a person that stands out in the crowd.
Definitely doesn't. And the cool thing wasn't working. Yeah, like you said. Yeah.
Kyle could have, like, I don't know how long ago you guys were watching NXT, but I would compare him very much to when Sami Zayn was NXT champion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And in that time when NXT was what it was then, that would have been fine. But what NXT is now, trying to be a third brand, trying to compete with at least AEW, Kyle O'Reilly can't be the top champion unless he beats Adam Cole for it. But other than that, I don't really see it.
That's a tremendous point by you. Yeah, it makes total sense, because Sami Zayn at that time when he beat, but it was as much as what it is now, and it's vying to take on obviously AEW, like you said, and all that stuff like that. So it doesn't make a ton of sense. He can't hold his own on the mic and in terms of a character. Like you said, whatever that thing he was wearing with the weird hats, and I mean, even Johnny Gargano made fun of his jean jacket, right? Like it's just not working. Like that aspect of what he's wearing, what he's coming out, how he's acting. It's not really coming off that well. Eric in the chat, I hope they treat the beautiful $1 million title with some respect. Don't make it some throwaway garbage that just disappears later on. Yes, hopefully so. Like we say, we like to compare it all to the FTW championship, and hopefully it doesn't become that. Hopefully, God willing, it doesn't become the 24/7 title and they just do some ridiculous campy garbage like that. See, a Nation Dog would say, I think they give Kyle Oreilly the NXT North American Championship before the NXT. Yeah, he deserves to have that title first, and then you can go with the story of him clawing and his way to finally get to that point, and he finally reaches that summit where he actually does win it off of Adam Cole. Makes most sense, as that's the guy who he's got to take it off of. Okay, so last thing we'll finish with, Mex. What's going to be your biggest takeaway from this show in the end? Like, with your predictions, and if it plays out exactly the way you said it will, what's going to be your biggest takeaway from it?
What's next for Karrion Kross? Like, that's the big question, because if he's going to retain, you know, like you said, he won't be going up to the main roster. He's just kind of ran through the entire main event scene. Is Bronson Reed going to drop his title and be the credible challenger for the NXT title at that point? Are we going to see Walter kind of try to involve himself? Maybe we see the Triple H thing that we're pitching, you know, someone else, you know, William Regal's hired gun, so to speak, about who could kind of discipline Karrion Kross. Because I think definitely they'll need to flip him back to a heel straight after this, because he works better like that. But yeah, I'm really intrigued. If he comes out as champion, what are they gonna do for the next couple of weeks, months, as to who his challenges would be?
Yeah, for SummerSlam, because it's the big event they're leading towards. So that's interesting. Now, Dan, kick it over to you. If everything plays out exactly the way you predicted it, what's gonna be your biggest takeaway coming out of the show?
Well, if it plays out, if Triple H got involved in NXT, that would be insane. Now get all the eyes on NXT straight away. But like, if like they could do that. If they want someone for Kross after, just have him get jumped after the match by whoever. And like, there's no harm in sending someone down. Maybe like you said, Keith Lee sending back to NXT, or even some guy. So like anyone, maybe like if Jeff Hardy could work. He's not being used much on Raw. You know, he'd come down. He'd be quite a cool one to do. You know, so, but yeah, that main event we just take.
Yeah, that main event happening and what comes out of it, whoever comes out as champion, that probably the biggest like thing. I think there might be a surprise here and there for that main event. But guys, that is it. That's our predictions for this entire show. I mean, most likely we'll probably get them all right, I assume. I think we did all right for Double or Nothing, right? Except I think Dan picked the Go-Go. I mean,
apart from a Go-Go, yeah.
Yeah, I think we got everything else kind of close to right. I don't keep track of it, but hopefully nobody did anyways. Yeah, but guys, that is everything. I want to thank Mex. Make sure you check out WrestleManiac UK, his channel, dropping some solid, good stuff on there. Dan on his channel, DWE, dropping some solid, good stuff on there as well. Two great YouTubers. Really do appreciate these guys always coming on my channel to do these live streams with me. Much appreciated. Okay, so I got some special stuff dropping this week, hopefully, in terms of videos. Make sure you tune into those. I got a nice NXT one and something else special, and also the one I did West Coast Popcast I'm dropping as well. So yeah, that's the review. That's the predictions we have for you guys. Sorry about that. Predictions, and I'll try to get a review in for you guys as well after the show when it's done. We'll see what happens. But I appreciate everybody for tuning in, everybody that got involved with the chat, the whole DWE crew that always likes to jump in, and have a lot of fun there. Appreciate Dan. I appreciate Mex. You guys are the best, and catch you guys on the next one.